Logged. I'm going to pass it over to Matt.
Great. Thank you, Sandy. Well, super excited for today's presentation. If you recall, we had the T100 meeting in Charlotte just a few months ago, and we got into this conversation about AI and AI agents and what everyone was doing. And it seemed like there was really some broad excitement around the idea of migrating from generative AI to agentic AI. Some of this was covered at high tech, but we thought it'd be great to have a personalized session just for the T100. We're super excited to have Michael Goldrich from Vivander. You know, Michael is not just an AI expert and consultant, but he's one of us, having spent a lot of time at Starwood and Dolce and other areas of the hospitality industry, specifically to the quad conversation at Sage Hospitality. We're standardized on ChatGPT Enterprise across all of our properties and home office, but we have a very enthusiastic group of folks we call the Claude Club that Michael has been leading in their kind of adventures of building agents and applications in Claude. And so we thought we'd take some of those sessions that Michael has been working on with that group and give a truncated version to this audience. So super excited to introduce Michael Goldrich from Vivander, who has recently been invited to participate in the HFTP Global Board. So with that, we'll turn things over to Michael.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And just so you know, outside my window here in New York City, we have a thunder and lightning storm. So if I disappear, it's because my house lost power. So just so you know. All right. Let me know. Can you guys see my screen? Do you
Yep.
guys see that?
Yes.
All right. So let's start the show. So just as what Matt talked about, so this kind of came out of a whole Claude Code Cowork sort of exercise. And really, because I know up to this point, everyone's been talking AI, 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 but now things are shifting to like, well, what's next? What's next are these agents, and agents seem like these almost like mystical sort of like entities. So what I wanted to do is find a way to demystify them, break them down into like the basic elements, and make it really understandable to everybody. And not just that, but to kind of have little agents work together as a little workflow with a little boss called an orchestrator. And that's what I put together for you guys. So the other thing is we're doing this in Claude Cowork versus Claude Code. And the reason I want to do it in Cowork is because, yes, we can do the similar exercise in code, but you actually have to now download some other stuff onto your computer, which would kind of make it a little bit more complicated. And it's harder in a group like this to do that. So you still get the same payoff with Cowork. The only issue is your computer has to be on for it to run. Cowork with code, it could be off. So let's go to the next one. That's me. You guys already covered that. That's me. We already covered that. So let's get to what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the words. We're going to talk about a little bit about a little bit about Claude, talk about the anatomy of an agent, then setting up your workspace, and then we do the copy and paste exercise, and then we run it. Oh boy, it's going to be so much fun. We're going to love it. So let's get to it. So you got your handout. If you don't have your handout, open it up. And so this just makes it so easy so you don't have to type anything. It just makes it a pure copy and paste exercise. And wherever I have something like this in the handout, where that's where you just highlight it and you're going to paste it into Claude Cowork. So what we're going to build today, and this is really fun, we're going to build essentially a news agent scout. And this news agent scout is going to have a couple of helpers, and one of it's going to be it's going to actually be the scout that actually is looking out, reading the news. You're going to have an analyst that kind of looks at that and breaks it down, and then the writer who kind of writes it all up. And there's going to be the boss of them all, which is going to be the orchestrator that's going to kick the whole sequence off. So that's what we're going to do. So what do you need to get this going? Well, you need Claude desktop app. So if you haven't done that already, download it, install it, sign in. But it can't be the free version. You need the paid version, because with the paid version, that's what makes Cowork available. And that's it. That's all you need to kind of get the show on the road and maybe following directions, but you guys can do that easily. So there we go. So the words that we're going to use agent. Now, I think agent seems again, as I said earlier, like this, like really hard to understand concept, but it really is just a set of instructions and it can use tools. And that's what it does. It follows that. And an agentic workflow is a couple of these agents together handing work off to each other in a particular order. And what they ultimately deliver and make at the end is like a brief. It's a short document. It's what's been written. And for us, it's going to be some news stories. And we're going to have this written in Markdown. And I'll explain what Markdown is in a second. So again, we're using Cowork. What makes Cowork different than, say, Claude Chat is it uses a folder on your computer. And that is really powerful because it can see anything in your folder, but you really want to make sure you give it access to just one folder, or else if you just kind of give it access to your computer, it'll just start changing stuff. So you want to just make sure you give it to one folder, and we're going to call it the folder Claude. We're going to have a system prompt, which is basically what you guys have learned in terms of writing best case prompts, and then find the paste block. So again, Claude Chat, just like with ChatGPT Chat, it's a conversation. It does not open files. You have to copy and paste stuff by hand. It's great for validating emails. Claude Code is more for engineers. It runs in terminal, although you can also run it on the desktop. It works on a code base with Python, really super powerful. And if you guys get into that, start playing with that, you'll realize there's really, on a lot of these technology companies, there really is no moat. You could build anything. And then Claude Cowork. It works within a folder, again, like chat. So Cowork was designed by the guy, I think, who created Claude Code that wanted to make it more accessible to everybody, like more knowledge workers. So it's just like it's a flavor of Claude Code and it's just focused on a particular folder there, but no terminal and no code. Now, Claude Code and a lot of these AI systems, they like these files that are called .md files. And you'll see these. And what does .md stand for? .md stands for Markdown. And essentially what it is like a text file, like when you have a .txt file. However, it has a set hierarchy. So, and it sets its hierarchy out with like the hash signs. So 1, 2, 3 hash signs. So that's how it kind of knows where everything is and what belongs together. So that is what these .md files. And then again, so what is an agent? An agent is just a set of instructions plus some tools. Claude reads the instructions and does the job. And that's pretty much what it is. So every agent's two things, what it can do and what it's allowed to touch. I mean, as you get more sophisticated, you can add memory and other stuff. But right now we're just kind of focusing on the bare bones of what an agent is. So today, the concept of orchestration, you might have heard the word orchestration. It really is, instead of one agent doing everything, you have sub agents and you have one head agent that kind of directs each of them. So like an orchestra conductor. So it could tell us each agent when it should start running, and that's sort of what the role of the orchestrator is. Lines of code. It's always great to see a 0 on a screen. So here it is. We got a 0. That's how many lines of code that we're going to build for these agents. So let's talk about the anatomy. And again, agent, just a file, but in this file, it has very distinct parts. And there are 4 parts that we're going to talk about today. So the 4 parts of every agent is this. It has a name, it has a description, it has the tools it's allowed to use and touch, and then it's a system prompt. So let's get into this. But really, these are the 4 aspects of it. And as you start to look into these agents and look at the anatomy, it really takes out the whole mystery of this whole thing out of it. So a name, so lowercase, hyphenated, but you really want a name that really is specific and related to exactly what the agent's all about. We're going to build a news scout. It looks at the news, it scouts out the news, ergo news scout. That's how we're going to name this thing today. And then a description. Actually, description is the most important part after the name, because this is clearly what the agent does. And this is, if you're not running it automatically and Claude is trying to look at an agent to run, it might read these instructions to figure out whether it should run or not. So the agent is really tells what it can do. This is all about the routing. It's the deciding, be very specific as possible in terms of what the agent is, what it can do, why you want it. But again, not too long, keep it about 2 sentences. And then the tools. These are the tools that it's allowed to use. And that's why I like to have, like, for what we're building today, I could have just done one new Scout agent. But I think that from my experience, by breaking it up into specialty tasks, it allows each of these agents to do each of those things better. So with the new Scout, we're just giving it the ability to search the internet, pull down information. It can read and write. The analyst and the writer, they just read and write. And the orchestrator, it just has access to the agents and it can read. So you want to really look at, these are essentially the guardrails that you're putting on each of these scouts, each of these agents in terms of what they can use and what they can do. And then the system prompt. This is essentially like all those prompting frameworks that you've learned about in the past that, tell it what it is. You are a scout of the industry news. So you kind of giving it a role, and then you're kind of highlighting and being specific as to what it can do. It can read the sources MD file, topics file. You want to find it very specific within the past 24 hours, record the headline, source, and all that. Never invent an item. So here it is, essentially this is prompting, but it is, this is how you tweak it if it's not doing exactly what you want it to do. So this is the whole new scout.md agent. This is the whole bit of it. So, no mystery in terms of this agent now, right? You have its name, you have its description, you have its tools, and then that's the top part. And then bottom part is the system prompt here. So that's it. No mystery. Super easy. You guys are now all trained in creating any agent you possibly ever want. So now let's do it. Let's do it together. And we're going to create all these files. We're going to put them on your desktop if you guys want. So right now we want to create a folder on your desktop. We're going to call it Claude. So right click on your desktop, create a new folder, name it Claude. And then we're going to open that up and we're going to create a subdirectory called News Agent. All right, so that is the first task for each of you to do. So I'll give you a moment to do that. And as you're doing that, I'm going to tell you what's going to go into the News Agent directory. We're going to copy and paste 5 files. These are .md files. There's a Claude file, which is the brain, and then the config, topics, brand, sources. And then we're going to create a sub directory, which is a .agent, which is a .directory. And on Windows, it's visible. On Macintosh, it's invisible, but it'll say how to look at it. And we're going to put all the news, all the agents inside of there. All right, so now you've all created your Claude on your desktop Claude, and then your news agent subdirectory. We are now going to point Claude Cowork at that. We're going to work we're going to choose work in a project folder, and we're going to choose the folder. You're going to pick Claude, desktop Claude News Agent, and I will show you what that looks like right now. So right now, you should have something that looks like this. You want to click Cowork, and over here it says pick a file or a location. You want to pick this, and then you want to follow the directory down to ultimately Claude Desktop, Claude News Agent. This is probably the hardest part of what we're going to do today in terms of getting there. But again, because everything we're going to do from this point on, we're going to copy and paste right into the context window. But you just want to make sure that this is the correct directory. And this is the directory that Claude is going to be working in today. Make sense? Sandy, everyone follow? You got it? I'm going to move on. And in terms of the model over here, right now it's Sonnet. I'd keep it on Sonnet. Okay. So safety. So again, the reason I want to keep it confined to a directory is because Cowork, anything that it has access to, it'll read, it write, it can change. It'll ask you before it changes something if it has permission to change it, unless you bypass all permissions. But just so you know, it just makes life a lot easier and safer if you just grant it access to one folder. All right, so now we're going to, I'm going to talk real briefly here about the hidden folder, the .claude folder. Agents, we're going to copy agents, and that's going to come a little bit. They're going to be in here. On Windows, you can see them. On a Mac, yeah, the Finder hides the dot names, so you need to do press Command plus Shift plus period to show them. You almost never need to open them. You're not going to really need to, but that is how you can get access to them. All right, let's keep going on. So what's going to happen now is you're going to paste, and Claude is going to make the files automatically for you. You don't have to open up anything. You don't have to open up a file. You don't have to open up a subfolder. Each block is already preset to create a specific file in a specific folder that it needs to be in. So let's go. We're going to start to build this. We're at a half past. All right. So we're first thing.
Michael,
Yes?
Monica had a question. She said, "How do you know which which model to select?" i.e.,
Just use
Sonnet.
Sonnet. So here, this is the way to think about it. Sonnet is like a high school student. Opus is a college student. And Fable is like a PhD student. But for what we're doing here, high school related. All right. So it doesn't need any. And haiku is like elementary school. Stay away from haiku. So what we're going to do first is build the claude.md file. And important to note, Claude is always capitalized here, but everything's going to be preset. You're not going to have to type anything, but just know that every sort of Claude Code project, every Claude Cowork, folder, exercise, project, whatever, always has a claude.md file. This is the brains of how it runs everything. So we are going to go to your handout to look at number one. So here we're going to go over here. Let me drag this over. So for those of you who are following along here, you have this handout. You see paste block number one. Now you don't have to paste the italics. It's not going to break anything, but just try to take everything here all the way down to there, just like that. You copy it, and then you just paste it right into your context window, just like this. And when it's all done, it's going to look like this. It'll say it's saved, it created it, it's in the news agent folder with the exact text. I'll give a moment for you guys to catch up. If someone can kind of give me a thumbs up if they're that we're good. I don't want to lose anybody. This is now we're just doing copy and pasting.
Jackie's thumbs up.
All right, there we go. I just need one to keep going. I only need one. All right, so now we're going to the run config file. So this is the one you can manipulate this if you wanted to pull more than 5 stories, if you wanted to write something longer than 100 words. And here it kind of decides on the mix of stories. So right now I set this the mix of hospitality, AI and technology, whatever. So we're going to copy and paste number 2. So let me find number 2. So number 2 over here, you're just going to go and you're going to copy all this stuff and you're going to paste it in. And when it's all done, it's going to look like this. Look at this. Isn't this easy? And isn't this fun? Who knew copying and pasting could be so much fun? All right, Dana, can I have a thumb up? Sandy?
I think you're doing well. It kind of feels like cheating because we have all the answers.
You know what? It isn't cheating. We're leveraging the tools that are made available to us. All right, let's keep going. More copy and pasting. So this one is the topics. Again, this is the one you can edit later, but right now, these are the topics I preset for all of you guys. AI and hotel operations, AI agents that take real actions, all this. And then the different lenses in terms of, oh, there's no 2 here. So anyway, no, that actually doesn't even apply. But anyway, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to copy paste this, and we're going to paste this over here. Let's see. All right, yeah, here you go. I have all 5 of them over here. So you're going to copy this whole thing. And when you're done, you guys see that screen? All right. And then we should see save topics.md in your news agent folder. All right. I think you guys got the drift here, right? You guys are really good. All right. So now we're going to the next one. Brand.md, the voice here. This is the one that you can customize. Again, you think about who is your audience, the voice that you wanted to write in for every story, like what you care about and what you want documented. So that's what it's going to pull in. Again, this is all customizable once you're all set, and I'll show you in a second how you can customize it. But you just paste number 4, and let me get number 4 over here for those of you following along at home. Here we go. Just grab it. And it goes across a couple of pages. So just grab it to the very end. You're going to copy it and you're going to paste it. And when you paste it, it's going to look like that. Saved brand.md in your news agent folder with that exact text. Right? See, not super. It's really taking the whole mystery out of this whole agent process here. So you guys are going to have all these really cool agents. All right, let's go to the next one. So now news, right? You have some news that's open and some that's gated and paywalled. So you're not going to be able to see the full news story. It's going to be limited. So like Skift, it's gated, only gives you a headline and a link, and you read the rest with your subscription. So just to kind of know that. So sources, we just kind of document that at the beginning here. We kind of say the news, it's open or not. You don't have to. I chose to do that just to kind of this way it doesn't hallucinate. It just keeps it to what it is. So now we're going to number 5. And I kind of get the feeling that some of you are going ahead. So that's okay if you guys are going ahead. There you go. Copy this whole thing. Copy. Paste it. And when it's all done being pasted, there it is. And then it will say saved sources.md in the news agent folder with that exact text. Look at that. All righty. So now, if you look in your desktop Claude news agent, if you were to take a look at it, you would see now you have these 5 folders. So, and you can see that they're all MD files, so you know these are all markdown files. So if you were to click one of them, say brand, and you open it as, you can open it as Notepad or Word or whatever, this is what it's going to show you. So this is how you go ahead, and if you want to edit any of this stuff or change any of this stuff, this is where you would kind of go ahead, you could tweak it, and then you would just save it. And that is an element of how each and every one of you can personalize this. I'm just giving you a framework. You guys can take it and go with it however you want. Okay, now we're kind of building the sort of the materials that the agents are going to pull from. But now it gets really exciting because now we're actually going to go ahead and build these agents. And building agents has never been easier than we're going to have today. So the first one we're going to build is the News Scout. We saw this guy before, the name, description, tools, and the system prompt. So let's go to number 6. And this one's a little different than the other ones because it's going into a subdirectory. But you don't have to worry about that because you say right here, create this into the subdirectory. It's going to do it automatically. You just copy the whole thing and it's going to paste it in. And copy it in, and it's going to save it. And you can see it's got a .claude file, which is the hidden file. It's an agent, and it's created the News Scout markdown file. Now we're going to create the news analyst. All right, everyone loves a news analyst, right? The name, it's got this little description. It reads what the scout found. It's going to kind of score them. It's going to hold to the category mix, and then it's going to choose the best 5 stories, and it's going to save the output, raw output in news agent, output raw shortlist MD. It has no web access, only it just judges what the scout found. All right, so let's go to number 7. All right, there we go. Just copy it. And there we go. Highlight the whole thing. You're going to copy it. You're going to paste it. And there it is. And when it's all done, you're going to say save.claude/agent.newsanalyst.md in your news agent folder with that exact text. And look at that, coming along great. Now we're going to build the news writer. This writes the final brief for the analyst shortlist, use last after the analyst. It's going to read and write, so that's the name, description, tools. Then here's the system prompt. It's going to read what the news was in the shortlist, and it's going to read the brand.md. It's going to start with a brief with 2-sentence summary. It's going to, for each of the 5 stories, it's going to write about 100 words. And it's going to save the output to news agent/output/briefs. It's going to date it, and again, tell it has no web access. So let us go to number 8. We're going to copy and paste this baby. So copy, and we're going to paste it in. And when it's all done, it's going to say saved.claude agent news.writer.md. Again, the MD is the markdown file. Just means it's like a text file with hashtags. Now the conductor. This is the one that kind of brings them all together. This is the team leader, the orchestrator. This is the one that kind of tells everyone when it's going to start, when it's not going to start. We're going to build this guy. And here it is, the orchestrator. We're going to call it news orchestrator. Runs the whole industry news scout in order. You are the orchestrator for the industry news scout. Your only job is to run the workflow in order. Do not gather, rank, or write anything yourself. Use the news scout agent to gather today's candidates. When it's finished, use the news analyst. When it's finished, use the news writer agent to write the brief, then report back. That's it. That's all the orchestrator does. See, you can manages the workflow. So let's go to number 9. So here you go. You just highlight it all. And then we paste it. It said saved in your news agent folder with that exact title. 4 agents plus 4 config files are now in place. Whenever you're ready, you can run it. So this means that we are just about ready to build this whole thing. So again, as a reminder, the tools that each agent has, the only one that can browse the internet is the News Scout, and it does that via web search. All the other ones can read. All of them can read. Only 2 of them, actually 3 of them can write, and the news orchestrator just calls agents. So the writer, again, we don't want it to hallucinate. We want to just focus on the articles, which is why we don't want it to have internet access. And now here's one of the things, again, between Claude Cowork and Claude Code, sort of this enforcing these tools. It is maximally enforced on Claude Code, but on Claude Cowork, it is possible that the writer might decide he wants to go out and find some news. Just so you know, it's possible. So now, if you go back to your directory, you have desktop, Claude, news agent. You had those 5 before, but now you have the .claude. And again, Windows can see this. On Macintosh, you need to hit that Command Shift period, I think, whatever I said earlier, and it's in your handout for you to be able to see it. So if you were to open it up, this is what you see. These are the MD files right there. These are the 4 agents that are part of the system. And if you were to open one up, you click the news agent, here it is. So if you wanted to change it for whatever reason, you can go ahead and change them all up and just save it, and it'll change it. This is where you can change these agents however you want to change them. So we're going to run it. It's going to take about 4 minutes to run it. So what we're going to do is we're going to run this via the orchestrator. It's going to call the scout, the analyst, and the writer. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to go to paste in 10 in the handout. You're going to copy this whole thing, and you're going to paste it right into Claude Cowork. So let's see, here it is. So here it is. You just light this up, you copy this, you paste it in, and when I ran it last night to just double check, it started running, and it took about 4 minutes for it to get through the whole process. But as you guys are going through the process, so we just don't sit here and twiddle thumbs, and I know we can't handle any questions, but Sandy, while this is going on, if anyone has any questions for me, can I take those via chat? Or
Yep, absolutely. Folks can add questions in the chat, and we are happy to relay those to you as this is processed.
So as this thing is building along, are there any questions? I know we're doing a great job of explaining this, so I can't believe there'd be any questions, but there might be questions.
I don't see any in the chat at this time.
There we go. Okay. Well, is everyone, so are people's, is it doing this business? Is it running the agents? Let me just make sure at least that's working.
Just maybe a thumbs up if you're working on this. And we did get one question popped in the chat about the security. How do you think about security when creating these agents? Perhaps not in this example, but ones that are more sophisticated.
Well, I think it depends on what it is, like security. So one of the security is you just give it folder access. You could, right now that what I gave you, it's really walled off. So it can look at the internet and then it pulls stuff in and reads and writes. However, you can connect this to your email, and if you were so inclined, it could actually take these stories out and email them to you. And that's a security thing to think about, because if it can email it to you, if there's a glitch, it could send it out to other people as well. So what I do is I have it write only to drafts for me, and then I can look at this. I never give these things access to uh, full rights to anything, in terms of I let it read my calendar, but I'll never let it write to my calendar. And I'll let it read my emails, but I'll never let it send an email. So I think it's just, it comes down to the whole common sense thing too. And just think of anything that could go wrong, could go wrong. And then how do you protect yourself against that? But I think one of the biggest things is to make sure that you understand how these things work, and you can just give them access to tools that they're allowed to have access to. So I'm going to continue on right now as that's building along. So it's interesting as it's going through, and you can kind of see the orchestrator doing his job, waiting. Once the new scout is done, it goes to the next one, waits for that one to be done, then goes to the next one. So that's what's happening right now. So today, the theme is AN hospitality and crossing from pilot to production. So this is sort of when I ran it, this is the top story. This is what it said at the top. And then it pulled in story number one was Choice Hotels, puts AI into core operations with AWS from Hotel News, Hotel Technology News. It pulled in Room Price Genie, and it wrote this little blurb from Hotel Tech News from High Tech. This one said G6 gives franchises AI-generated property video tours. Again, then attributed a source, and then pulled into a survey from Muse, from Fortune Hotel Dive. And the last one is something about BCG. So you can kind of see how the content that comes out. The config says what is going to happen, but now we're going to talk about scheduling. And I don't want you guys to run this one until the other one is finished, but I'm just going to explain to you what happens next in terms of what we're going to do. So the schedule here is a one paste, and we're going to basically tell it when it should run, and we're going to tell it to run Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Again, you can change this to when you want it to go. The caveat here is it'll save the articles into your brief in the folder Claude Code News Agent brief folder. That's number one. And the other thing is that it will only run if your computer in Claude's open. So this is an element of Cowork versus Code. If it was Code, it would just run. But with Cowork, your computer needs to be on, Claude has to be open for it to run. And so, like, say you turn on your computer, turn on Claude at like 7:02, it won't run. So I'm going to show it to you in that situation what you do in that if that happens. And I'm just going to talk through the next steps for those. Has it finished running for anybody? Dana, Sandy?
I don't see any thumbs yet. Jackie.
He's on it.
Jackie is on. Ms. Nunley. All right, that's great. All right, so now Jackie gave the thumb up. We're going to move on. So Jackie is your representative. So we're going to go to P11. So let's go over to P11. And what is P11? P11 says every business day, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m., run my scout using the orchestrator agent and news agent, and then post the 5 headlines. Do not run on weekends. All right. So you're going to do that. And after you post it, it's going to look a little bit different than the other ones. You're going to post it, and it's going to ask you to, it's going to define the steps for everything it needs to do, and it's going to ask you to update. you're just going to click update. And so this is going to make sure it knows what to do. And after you've done that, the next step is when you look in your left-hand nav, you'll look at scheduled. You're going to see industry news scout there. You're going to see this blue thing, it's active, and it's going to say when it's going to run. But let's say you turn on your computer at 7:02 and didn't run, you can always just click run now. And that would just kind of not wait for the scheduling to happen. It'll just go. So yeah, we talked about this. The app needs to be open, and that's what, no, now you can connect your inbox if you want to via the Claude connectors. And if you do decide to connect your Gmail or your calendar or whatever you use, then we're going to have the optional post for P12. And P12, let me pull over here. We're going to say to it, after a run, take the latest news brief and create a Gmail draft of it addressed to me, subject and date, create it as a draft only, do not send it. So that way it'll be all queued up in your drafts. That's only if you decide to connect to your email system. All right, so the takeaway here, we got another minute, so 4 parts to every agent. The description helps us the routing. The tool is the least privilege that it has, so only the scout can do the web search and web fetch. The text, you can craft the text. Everything's put in one folder. And if you want to do the same thing a little bit differently, you can just copy the whole thing and change it. So you just take the whole directory. So what you build, this is just a skeleton, right? This is about as bare bones as an agent can be, but there are a lot more things that agents can have associated with them. There could be memory, and there will have lots of different types of memory. You could have short term, medium term, long term. Then you can connect a lot more tools. You can your email and calendar, Slack and Teams. You can even connect your CRM. You can give it access to more tools to run code. I'm not sure actually if Cowork you can do that. Actually, that might be just more Claude Code thing. Or you can add more specialists. You can add more agents to the flow. You can make a longer workflow. You can maybe add some fact checkers or validators or whatever you want. And ways to think about it differently. You can, point them at your comp set. If you don't want to look at cybersecurity news versus just AI news, you can do that. You can track a brand in a region. Again, you can add a fact checker. You can add a translator. You can ask it to do one-line summaries. You can change the output and have it kind of construct stuff for LinkedIn posts. You can create board-ready one-pagers, stuff to your inbox. And if you want, so you can actually just have it look at your own folders and pull up information. It could post to Slack or Teams. So again, the framework is you want to define the job that it's going to do. You want to write the settings, one agent, one job. And that's what I really like. I like having one agent just do one thing, because if something's going a little bit weird, you know exactly which agent to look at to fix. Again, think about the privilege, think about the cadence, and iteration. And there it is. So pick one thing you read by hand every morning, write a scout and analyst, a writer for it, give it the only tools it needs to run it. And there you go. Where to begin? There's the show, and I'm done. So, boy, that was a lot of fun. So let me stop sharing.
Before I stopped the recording, there was one other question that was in the chat that Matt added that I just like to get the answer here on the recording, and that was, as our teams build more agents in Claude, how should we think about token usage?
Token usage. Yeah, that's a That's the T word right now. The token usage, I think you have to look at certain tasks. Certain tasks are going to be very token intensive. And so I think you have to, I think first of all, you have to experiment and see how much it's going to take. And then just really think about, does it really need to search all internet? Or maybe you can just look at one periodical or one brand or one thing. And so I think the biggest token usage really will come from kind of the searching and sort of understanding that. And then based on how much you pull back, then the second guy, which is the analyst, based on how much you want it to do, that can also use it as well. But I would start light with these things and just see how much it burns in the tokens, and then start to ratchet it up as you're comfortable with it. But yeah, tokens is like the big thing, and I think you got to monitor it because it also depends on the models that are being used. So you don't want this thing using Fable necessarily. Maybe you do for the writing or maybe just the analysis part. But I think for pulling the news, finding the news, I think Sonnet, I think a college level, I mean high school level person might be able to understand. But I would think of also having it look at like some sort of academic magazine or whatever, you might need a more sophisticated agent model that would burn more tokens. So, but I think it just starts small and then scale versus just kind of going for the everything. That'd be my answer to the token question. Not sure if that answers the question.
Perfect. No, it does. Let me go ahead and stop the recording and then we can ask some questions live here.